the July jobs report. Here is something to sigh a little bit of breath of relief about. A lot better than expected. 117,000 jobs added in this country last month. Much better than expected. The June report revised up to 46,000 jobs added in that month. We'll take it. Tig Gillum, the president of Adecco's North American division, joins us now. You guys focus on jobs. You're one of the biggest jobs-focused firms in the world. What do you make first of the headline number on this in the June revision?
Well, I think this is much better news than people were expecting. So 117,000 jobs is certainly an improvement over what we saw last month. The important part here is we had 154,000 private sector jobs. State and local government is going to continue to be under pressure to reduce employment, so we really need strong growth on the private sector side to bring the job market back.
When you look, let's go to the government jobs, a loss of 37,000 government jobs in the month of July. And from the experts that I've been speaking to, they tell me due to this debt ceiling deal, just looking at the numbers, if you cut spending, you're going to have to cut government jobs. So are we going to see persistent bleeding of government jobs?
I think we should expect that. There was a significant impact, I think, from the Minnesota situation and this number, but we're going to continue to see losses in the public sector in terms of jobs over the coming months, which is why we need such even stronger growth from the private sector to help offset that, to have a positive total non-farm payroll number.
One of the encouraging numbers that I see in this report is manufacturing jobs, up 24,000 in the month of July. Do you think that that is indicative of the beginning of a trend of some more strength in manufacturing? We had seen a ramping up of manufacturing at the beginning of this year. The latest manufacturing report was not good at all. What do you make of the manufacturing number?
We were definitely better in Q1 from a manufacturing perspective, and I can tell you from the Adecco group business specifically, we saw things slow down a bit related to the Japanese earthquake and tsunami.
Right.
So I think part of what we may be getting here is now a settling in post that event. We've seen better job growth in the automotive sector especially, which is now back online after the difficulties with Japan. And so I think that may be part of what we're seeing in manufacturing, and that's certainly a good sign.
Looking at healthcare, which month by month, no matter how bad the economy gets, we see jobs added in the healthcare sector. 31,000 added in healthcare, 26,000 added in retail. Are these the strength sectors moving forward?
Healthcare has carried us through the recession with job additions almost every month, and I think we continue to see that. That's great news. I think the retail one specifically is a good sign, because retail is really driven by consumer spending in most cases, and that's 70% of our GDP. So if we're getting enough growth in retail and that's adding jobs, that's a good sign for us going forward.
But when you look at the latest consumer confidence numbers, they're pretty abysmal. So if you don't have the long-term sustained confidence of the American consumer, you wonder if there is going to be this significant growth in retail and overall just, what is 2/3 of our GDP? The ability, and the willingness of the American consumer to spend. Are businesses seeing that yet in a meaningful way?
Well, this is exactly the point. I was much more expecting the retail number to be down for all the reasons you just said. So despite all of those headwinds and lower consumer confidence, at least we're getting some growth on the retail employment side. So that's something to look for as a sign of hope.
Looking forward, I'm wondering what your expectation is for unemployment. Do you expect it to tick lower, lower, lower? Is this the beginning of that recovery? Mohamed El-Erian doesn't think so. The CEO of PIMCO, he told me this week, he expects in the next 6 months that we see unemployment rise to 10%. What's your take?
Well, at 117,000 jobs, we're barely creating enough jobs for the population growth in the month. So we're not going to improve the unemployment rate with job growth like that. On top of that, we have so many discouraged people in the workforce who've stopped looking for work that as the job market does begin to improve, they're going to come back looking for jobs, and then they'll be counted among the unemployed. And I think this is what could drive us back to a 10% number.
So do you agree that we could be very well headed back up to 10%?
I think it's very likely that the unemployment number will rise before it goes down on a long-term basis. Now, whether it gets to 10%, I don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see 9.4, 9.5.
So bottom line, don't be too encouraged by these numbers. We'll take it, but we need to see a lot stronger numbers.
Yeah, I think we dodged a short-term risk of a really bad number this month. We're barely moving back in the right direction, and we're still not where we were in terms of momentum in Q1. We've got to grow jobs faster.